Ban one floodgate, unban another floodgate. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Oh yeah!
Face me. Give in to your pride.
Alright, today's video we're going to be talking about my top 5 qualms with the ban list and things that I felt that were done incorrectly or should have been probably handled in a different certain way. So, I guess the first sort of preface that I must make is the fact that, well, it's just an opinion, so if you don't like it, then that's cool. You can tell me yours, and I'd love to hear what you think. But again, these are the things that I think in terms of the meta and what I would hope to think are healthy and, you know, some things obviously being unhealthy. Different aspects that I feel should be addressed by a ban list, and I feel like this ban list was generally for the most part okay. A lot of people tend to give Konami a lot of shit. This ban list is garbage and stuff, and they have said recently in like fairly recent blog posts saying something along the lines of, we don't want to be too drastic, so you know, when Dragon Rulers got hit, for example, they just like eviscerated the deck. So I guess they're now taking a path of being a little bit more sort of calmer with the ban list, but I think there's still a couple of things that I thought were a bit too drastic. So anyway, rambling aside, let's just get into the top 5. So number 5, I felt that Rattuk was too harsh. Whoa! Fucking dislike, mad. Fuck Glasgow. I know. I didn't agree with this. I thought Zoo should have been left alone. Hear me out. I just want to say that I didn't want Zoo to be hit, but what I did think was correct was that they should probably have hit the cards around Zoo. I feel like at the start of the format, Zoo was sort of okay. Mirror matches were kind of fun and they were very equal and they were sort of, you know, back and forth, but it became a little bit degenerate after a while where, you know, Fusion Substitute came out. I made a video about that and I talked about how much I hate that deck. Now, I still kind of don't think Zoo is that good for the meta, but I feel like with the new stuff coming out in Maximum Crisis, it'd be kind of cool to see maybe if the deck will change it up a little bit and become a little bit more unique. Of course, it's probably just going to be same list over and over again, but here's hoping, right? Now, one other thing as well I wanted to mention, of course, with regards to this Zoo thing. I would have preferred that they hit everything around Zoo rather than Zoo itself. So, beginning first of all with Terra top, I think that card is just a little bit crazy in every deck. Even back when Burning Abyss was like amazing, that I thought that card was probably a bit too powerful. I feel like Terra top should just be banned. 1 card rank 3 that makes Leviair Invoker, which then tutors basically like anything and can be splashed into basically any deck. So I feel like that card was probably a little bit too much and maybe should just you know, be banned, basically. With Zoo, you probably could have had other things as well being hit, not just the Terra top, not just the Norden. Maybe you could have put Trident to 1. I feel like very light taps on the wrist to just slowly tutor it down to the level of other decks would have been the correct approach. I know a lot of you guys probably don't agree with that, but I feel like that's kind of just how it, you know, should be. I don't agree with like the Dragon Ruler approach where we just destroy the deck and like completely maul it. I don't think that's really how decks should be treated on a ban list. I feel like they should really just kind of tutor them very slowly, just get them down to like an acceptable level over a couple of formats and see where we go from there. So for that reason, I feel like, you know, Trident going to 1 would have probably been okay. They could have maybe even put something like Broad Bowl to 1. I don't think these cards completely destroy the deck at all, but it definitely hurts its grind game and its longevity. Norden as well. I think that's probably the biggest problem. I really don't like that card. So Norden, not even in Zoo, that card has constituted a big mess in every single other deck, basically. Like, there's so much stupid stuff that Norden does. Whether it's competitive or not competitive, you have Norden that's like just dumb and like FTKs. Like, so many FTKs utilize Norden. Norden is just really unfair in the sense that, you know, you can fusion gate it and do the whole Blaze Phoenix thing. And I know that's not relevant, but it's still something that shouldn't be a thing. Like, that should not exist really in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So it's just always contributes to a lot of degeneracy, and I feel like 1 card rank 4s or 1 card synchros just is really, really crazy when you have your grave set up, and that's why I think that card should have been hit as well. So moving on to number 3. So this really annoyed me. Maxi at 1 is just, I feel like this card is is really good for the game in some formats. In other formats, it can be just stupid. You could basically just go into Trident and set some traps. Generally, that's okay. So it's not the worst this format, but you know, last format when you're playing something like, I don't know, like ABC versus just the mirror match. Like if you get Maxi'd on your opening ABC turn, you need to hope those traps are gonna win, because that format was really horrible because it was just a dice roll for a lot of the time. So Maxi didn't help that aspect as well, because it was sort of like kill or be killed. It's like, okay, I will give you like 10 cards and I'll make a board, or I will give you 1 card, but I'll probably die next turn anyway. So that's kind of the problem with Maxi. And I feel like putting it to 1 doesn't deal with the problem. Like, keep it at 3 so that we can actively play around it, whatever that means, but at least it's at 3 so we know it's a thing. Or we can just, you know, ban it completely, because now when you have it at 1, it's just Saki. Like, you can't play around Saki cards. Like, there's no point in playing around a 1-of, for example, in like a 43 card deck or whatever people are playing as the standard these days. Like, you just have to hope your opponent doesn't, and if they have it, they have it. If they don't, it's like whatever. You know, it's like playing around Torrential. You should play around it if it means you'll automatically lose the game, but it's not something that you should be actively thinking about, because it is a 1-of. It's very rare that they will have it. So I just think that Maxi should really fall into that category of either just 3 or 0. Like, keep it at 3 or just ban it completely. Why are we going through this little, you know, strange loop of maybe put it at 1? It's an unsearchable card. Like, I feel like they don't understand how impactful it is at 1. It becomes super sacky and degenerate. It's the same story with Snatch Steal. They brought Snatch Steal back for 1 format, and everyone hated it, like, because it was just this 1 card Saki top deck. Maxi falls into that same category as well. It's just, if you open it, you've sacked your opponent, basically. Like, they're not going to play around Maxi turn 1 now that it's on 1. So, and if they do open it, well, now you're getting punished for your opponent being lucky enough to draw 1-of. At least if it's at 3, it's something that you can kind of think about more actively. Alright, so that was a bit of a ramble. Now, number 2. I think it goes without surprise. You know, you guys know that how much I fucking hate floodgates, right? Fucking despise floodgates. So Imperial Order came back to 1. And I have read the errata. The errata does not change anything. The card is still absurd. Like, spell cards are some of the most important cards in the game. Most decks can't function without spells, like Infernoids, Light Sword. There's so many decks need spells to play. And by putting this at 1, it's like, oh sure, now I can't switch it off whenever I want because of the errata, but it's still absurd. The card is still absurd. Like, really, really powerful. I hate floodgates. You know, that's not something that I've ever sort of changed my opinion on. I don't think floodgates are good for the game. But that's a whole different topic. Basically, the point is, it's like Konami took like a good step forward with like banning Kaiser, and then they banned Emptiness, but now they brought Imperial Order back, and it's like, why? People, who asked for this? Who actually asked for that? Who thought, like, you know, who kind of just really decided, you know, I kind of missed that card. I thought that was a great card for the game. No one. Come on, no one. Surely. If you missed Imperial Order, I'd like to know who the fuck you are and what your reasoning is. And number 1, my most annoyed, sort of biggest qualm with this whole ban list is this card still being not even hit at all to 1. It's at 3. Dimensional Barrier. Now, it goes without saying that this card is absurd. It literally ends the turn, depending on, you know, what you're playing against, and if you're playing generically some kind of meta deck. Even most rogue decks, if you flip D-Barrier, you're just gonna, like, you win that turn, or your opponent sets a bunch of traps and you have to grind it out a little bit. But for the most part, you know, deck versus deck, engine versus engine, D-Barrier is literally your opponent skips 1 turn for some decks. It's literally that bad. Like, really, really tough. So I don't feel like this card should have ever been printed in the first place. Now, I don't know if this is because this is Konami's way of selling reprints of it this time. Sometime this year, we probably will get some kind of mega pack, mega 10, whatever, with Desires and Dimensional Barrier and stuff like that. Maybe, I don't know. So maybe that's one reason they're keeping it around. They could be keeping it around as well because, well, don't know if you guys have read the card, but it doesn't say you can call Link. So you can't go D-Barrier and then you go call Link. So that's going to help promote the Link support in the Link decks coming out later this year. Maybe that's why that's still at 3. But in terms of the game itself, currently, I just think that card is absurdly cancer. I really, really hate that deck. I think it's so bad for the game. I think it ruins formats. I think it just makes mirror matches awful. I think that it shuts down rogue decks. It hurts casual players. It hurts me. It hurts everyone, and I just don't know like how anyone can benefit from D-Barrier being at 1. I just really don't like it. Okay, don't like it. So this has been my top 5 countdown. If you agree or disagree, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'd like to know what your opinion is and what your thoughts are. This is basically all I had to say. Obviously had to be very negative, and because this is the stuff I don't like about the list. But the things I did like about the ban list, if you're curious, was Emptiness being banned. I love that. Kirin being banned. I love that. Sangan coming to 3 a little bit late, but that was cool. And can't really think of anything else. Yeah, that's about it.
Come, face me. Give in to your pride.